The winter and snow can be a beautiful time of year, but even something as innocent as that can have its own horrors. The Phantom Sentinel, in a secluded military outpost in the American Midwest, known among the soldiers as Trinity Watch Point, a chilling wind howled through the barren branches, creating an eerie symphony in the dead of night. The area was infamous for its broken streetlights and enveloping darkness, especially during the lonely hours between 2 and 4 a.m. Rumors had long circulated among the troops that Trinity Watch Point was haunted, a site of unexplained occurrences and ghostly sightings. Despite never having encountered anything supernatural, the stories alone were enough to unsettle any soldier assigned there. Trinity Watch Point was a lone stretch of road, about 500 meters long, with 3 distinct sentry posts. Rarely frequented during the day, the street connected 2 bustling main roads at either end. Stark contrast to the desolation of the Watch Point. Tonight marked my first shift at Trinity Watch Point. Before I left the barracks, the sergeant tried to bolster my spirits. "Don't be scared. We soldiers are born with a fierce aura. Plus, with the national emblem above our heads and a pistol at our sides, what ghost would dare come near?" His words resonated with me. I straightened up, puffing out my chest. Cold. Ghosts? They meant nothing to a modern soldier like me, fearless and invincible. The shift passed uneventfully, save for the occasional patrol by the sergeant. The howling wind occasionally carried strange noises, but I dismissed them as figments of my imagination. As my shift neared its end, the thought of my warm bed brought a sense of comfort. I glanced towards the dimly lit street corner 100 meters away. The faint glow of the lone working streetlight provided a small sanctuary of light amidst the darkness, instilling an odd sense of peace in me. My relief arrived on time, and we exchanged salutes before I made my way to the street corner. The cold had numbed my feet, but moving around brought back a pleasant warmth. Just 10 more minutes, and I'd be back in my cozy bed. As I reached the corner and turned towards the direction from which my colleagues would be coming, I noticed a figure in red approaching from the opposite side. Checking my watch, I realized it was past 4 a.m. Probably someone heading home from a late shift. As the figure in red drew closer, illuminated by the streetlight, I saw it was a young woman. She had large eyes and a ponytail, but her face was unusually pale, likely from working nights. She smiled at me as she passed, saying, "Hello." My mind went blank. I had hardly spoken to women since joining the army, let alone one so pretty. I looked down, managing a shy hello in response. She stopped, her smile warm. "Just finished your shift? Must be tough." "Not at all, it's what we do," I replied quickly. "You must be the one who's had it tough working so late." "I'm used to night shifts," she said, "but standing guard like you do, exposed to the elements, that's the real challenge." I didn't know what else to say, so I just stared at my boots. She chuckled softly and said, "I should head home. Goodbye." "Goodbye," I replied, not daring to watch her leave as the footsteps of my fellow soldiers approached from the other side. Back in my bunk, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Her pale yet beautiful face haunted my thoughts. My next shift was from 4 to 6 a.m. Would I see her again? What would I say? Maybe just seeing her would be enough. Could it be love at first sight? No, that seemed too fanciful. But why did the thought of holding her close feel so right, so urgent? Throughout the next day I was distracted, my mind wandering, eagerly awaiting the night shift. I lay awake that evening, wondering if I would see her again. What would I say? I didn't even know her name. Could she possibly like me? At 3:45 a.m., as soon as the self-defense watch entered the barracks, I sprang out of bed, dressed quickly, and was the first one down the stairs. We assembled and headed towards our posts. I couldn't help but scan the surroundings, hoping to catch a glimpse of the girl in red. Soon we reached the corner, and there she was, approaching from the opposite direction. My heart leaped with joy and apprehension. I smiled at her before turning towards my post. Did she smile back, even though we hadn't spoken? I felt an inexplicable sweetness in my heart. The cold wind no longer seemed so biting. After the handover, I stood at my post, glancing towards the streetlight at the corner. My colleague stood there, but the girl in red was nowhere to be seen. "What are you looking at?" Suddenly, she appeared in front of me. I jumped, startled. "Why haven't you gone home? I was looking to see if you'd left." She grinned. "I couldn't sleep. I saw you earlier and followed you here. I watched from across the street while you were switching posts. I only came over after your colleague left." "Oh, I thought you'd gone home," I said. "I know soldiers aren't supposed to chat while on duty, so I waited in the dark across the street," she said playfully. "You're very considerate, but aren't your family worried about you not coming home?" I asked. "No worries, they're used to it. My dad used to pick me up from work, but now I go home alone. The road is safe with soldiers like you around." We talked until dawn was almost upon us. With a hint of reluctance, she said, "I should head home now. Let's talk again tomorrow night. I really enjoy our conversations." I replied with a smile. "You mean tonight? It's almost 6 a.m. now, but tonight I'm on duty from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Will I see you then?" She responded, "I start work at 8 p.m. I'll come by early to chat before I go." "Great. I'll wait for you. Make sure you come," I said eagerly. "I will. Goodbye," she said, turning away. Watching her receding figure, I felt something growing wildly inside me. Was this what falling in love felt like? Or was it just my naivety? Days passed, and she always appeared during my shifts to chat. I never asked her name. She always wore the same red coat, so I simply called her Red. During this time, I felt genuinely happy. Every bit of progress at work or praise from my superiors made me eager to share with her. Red would listen intently, her eyes speaking volumes, occasionally teasing me playfully. Those moments made me feel incredibly joyful. However, as time went on, I started to feel something was off. Red said she worked night shifts, yet no matter what time my shift was, she was always there. It had been almost a month, and she never seemed to change her clothes. Moreover, our sergeant never seemed to notice her during his patrols. Love might have clouded my judgment as I found myself making excuses for these oddities, and whenever I tried to bring them up in conversation, Red skillfully changed the subject. Everything changed one night when we were deep in conversation. Red suddenly said, "Your sergeant is coming." I turned and saw the sergeant approaching from the streetlight at the corner. As usual, Red moved to a spot beneath a wall across the street. The moon was bright that night and Red was clearly visible. My heart raced with anxiety. The sergeant will surely see her. What should I do? I thought. The sergeant came up to the sentry post, signed the log, and stood next to me. "How's everything, soldier? Any unusual activities?" he asked kindly. In a panic, I blurted out, "All clear, sir. But there's a woman in a red coat across the street. She's been standing there for quite a while." I pointed towards Red's location. "Over there." "Where?" the sergeant asked incredulously. "There's no one there. Just a wall. Are you seeing things? Maybe you're seeing ghosts." As he finished his sentence, Red disappeared. I rubbed my eyes in disbelief. She was right there. My legs gave out, and then everything went black. I spent a week in the hospital. The doctor said I had a weak constitution, and standing guard for long hours had caused me to faint. Upon my discharge, I was reassigned to a logistics role, never to stand guard again. No one knew about Red. Even when the sergeant asked, I just claimed I had been seeing things that night. "Red, would I ever see you again?" Probably not. Whether you were a ghost or a person, I want to say that for a while I truly liked you. Mirror of Solitude, a tale of unseen shadows. In a small, forgotten town in rural America, there was a mirror. Not just any mirror, but one that held a curse as old as time itself. It was found by a young girl named Lily, an orphan who had spent her life drifting from one foster home to another. This mirror, with its ancient, ornate frame, was not a treasure, but a harbinger of death. Lily was 8 when the mirror first showed its dark powers. She had innocently handed it to her Uncle Jack to admire his reflection. The very next day, Uncle Jack was found dead, his face contorted in an expression of terror. At 10, she gave the mirror to a neighborhood boy, Ethan, who had shown her kindness. Tragically, Ethan fell from his balcony that very night, his life extinguished in an instant. When Lily was 15, terrified of the mirror's ominous power, she discarded it. A homeless man picked it up, only to be crushed under the wheels of a speeding truck moments later. On her 18th birthday, haunted by her past and the mirror's curse, Lily bravely confronted her reflection. "You should leave, Lily. I can no longer care for you," Grandpa Joe said from his hospital bed. "I can take care of myself. Please don't send me away," Lily pleaded, tears blurring her vision. Since her parents had abandoned her, Lily's life had been a series of shadows and whispers. She had vague memories of her parents, but they had vanished when she was just 8. Kind-hearted Grandpa Joe had then taken her in, but now even he was bidding her farewell. Clutching the mirror, Lily left the hospital, wandering the noisy streets, her hollow eyes reflecting the passers-by's indifference. Out of boredom, she held up the mirror to a stranger. "That's quite rude, you know," said a voice. A girl around Lily's age, wearing a simple blue dress, smiled at her gently. Her name was Chris, a fresh college graduate working in a local cafe. Lily, startled, shook her head, whispering, "I have no name." "No name?" Chris echoed, surprised. "Right," Lily confirmed. Chris, slightly taken aback, kindly said, "Here's your mirror back." Lily took the mirror, still in a daze. In a moment of boldness, she asked, "Can I stay with you? I have nowhere to go." Chris hesitated, but eventually nodded. Living with Chris, Lily learned she had just graduated and was living alone, working to save money. Arriving at Chris's rented apartment, Lily saw a wedding photo in the living room. The couple in the photo looked eerie, their smiles twisted. Lily felt a chill and stepped back. "What's wrong?" Chris asked, concerned. "Are they your parents?" Lily pointed at the photo. "No, they're my landlords," Chris explained, leading her inside. In the following days, Lily grew close to Chris, who always maintained a polite distance. A month later, Chris planned to move after finding a new job. She informed the landlords, who agreed to return before Chris's departure. Hearing of the landlord's return, Lily rushed to the living room. Looking at the wedding photo, she saw the couple's eyes gleaming malevolently. "I'm waiting for you," Lily yelled, throwing the mirror at the photo. The faces in the photo bled, their eyes oozing black smoke. "What are you doing?" Chris entered, alarmed. "Talking about killing?" Lily glanced at Chris, then grabbed the mirror and dashed into the night. "Where are you going? It's late," Chris called, following her. Confronting the cold night, Lily questioned herself. Why did she want to harm the people in the photo? Why did the mirror hold such malice? Suddenly, a dazzling light appeared, a shard of glass aiming straight at Chris. Chris dodged, and the glass shattered on the ground. An angry neighbor shouted threats from above. Chris apologized softly. Lily, looking at the neighbor through the mirror, witnessed the woman fall from her window, dead on impact. "It wasn't me," Lily stated blankly. "The mirror was the killer, not her." Lily never looked into the mirror, fearing the horrifying visions that came with it. Chris, although unsettled, didn't question Lily further. Days passed, and the time for the landlord's return and Chris's departure grew near. Tension hung in the air, a silent storm brewing. One evening, Chris received a call confirming the landlords would return the next day. Lily overheard this and felt an indescribable dread. That night, she lay awake, tortured by nightmares of a dark past she couldn't fully remember. In the dead of night, Lily heard whispers. The mirror, lying on the floor, seemed to beckon her. She picked it up and, in a trance, threw it against the wall. But no matter how hard she tried, the mirror remained unscathed. Defeated, Lily heard voices outside. "This is Chris's place," and a voice said. "Time to settle the score." Peeking through the door, Lily saw two men with sinister intentions. Acting on impulse, she slid the mirror outside. One of the men picked it up and, looking into it, stabbed his accomplice before falling dead himself. The mirror's curse was undeniable. Days passed and Chris didn't return. Lily, restless, ventured out to find her. The streets were empty, the night silent except for her own footsteps. She found Chris in a cafe laughing with a friend, a girl named Jessica. The sight stung Lily. Chris's happiness seemed to exclude her. Returning to the apartment, Lily was confronted by the mirror again. This time, she faced it, her heart pounding. The reflection showed everything but her. The truth dawned on her. She was not of this world, merely a shadow, a memory of a life never lived. The next day, Lily followed Chris and Jessica, her heart heavy. In a park, she overheard their conversation. "Lily is different. I feel sorry for her, but I can't help her," Chris said. Tears streaming down her face, Lily returned to the apartment. She picked up the mirror, its surface cold and mocking. The world around her seemed to warp, the boundaries between reality and illusion blurring. Lily knew she had to leave. She could not risk harming Chris or anyone else. With the cursed mirror in her hands, she walked to the outskirts of town, to a place where the earth met the sky. There she buried the mirror deep beneath the ground, a grave for her sorrows and fears. As she walked away, the sun rose, casting long shadows on the path ahead. Lily left the town, her heart lighter yet filled with an unspoken sadness. She realized that some curses are not meant to be understood, but merely accepted. As she disappeared into the horizon, the town slowly woke up, oblivious to the quiet drama that had unfolded in its midst. Lily's journey had ended, but her story lingered in the whispers of the wind, a tale of a girl and her mirror, a reminder of the thin line between reality and the unseen shadows.